Dan Hurley and UConn dominate to win the NCAA championship. Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark have changed the landscape of women's sports forever, and Texas picks up a win after a two-game losing skid. All this and more coming up on College Crossfire.
Coming back to that 2021 MVP. He's better than Josh Allen. He's better than Michael Alvarez. He's not better than Mahomes. I can't say that.
What you miss a kick, you get kicked.
You know, bag of money or whatever. Food inside of them. No, that is a great answer. How dare you? Oh, man.
Good evening and welcome into College Crossfire, the best collegiate sports debate show on the planet. Now, while this is the best collegiate sports debate show on the planet, we have once again been put in the worst possible conditions here at TSTV. We have two working mics and they're hanging on by a thread. Our teleprompter doesn't work, so our wonderful friend of the program, Adam Ogburn, is standing beside the camera that's focused on me right now to scroll on our teleprompter. And our poor contestants, once again, have to share a microphone. I'm so sorry for you guys. We need to get this fixed, TSTV. Anyways, I'm your host, Tommy Yarrish. We've got a great show lined up for you here tonight. Let's go ahead and meet our contestants. On first base, he's our returning champion in my absence last week. Shout out to executive producer Jordan Galehood for taking over. It's TJ Krilowicz. TJ, welcome. Did I get it right?
You did. That was great, man. I don't have to, get on you about it.
Yeah, you don't have to leave the show anymore. Thanks for sticking around and explaining how to pronounce your last name before the show started.
Of course.
Next to him on second base, we're happy to have him here after allegedly competing in a hot chip challenge. He has lost all the redness from his face. It's Robert Gonsoulin. Thank you for coming, Robert. Did you drink milk afterwards?
I did drink some milk afterwards and some water, too. You know, a lot of people say water doesn't do the trick when you eat hot foods. I think that I don't trust anything more than water, though, when it comes to that stuff.
All right, you heard it.
There's your fact of the day.
You heard it from
your opinion.
Our well-known hot chip expert, Robert Gonsoulin. Thanks for being here with us tonight, Robert. And last but certainly not least, on third base, ladies and gentlemen, it's everyone's favorite Pluckers waiter, Michael Alvarez. Thank you for your service, Michael. How are you?
I'm good. I honestly forgot y'all know I work there, but it's a good time. I have if you want some wings, I can get you some. So let's go like that.
Michael, the 5-star waiter over down the street at Pluckers on 23rd Street, and is it San Antonio or San Gabriel? Rio Grande.
Yeah, Rio Grande.
Something along those lines. Fantastic service during Texas's game against Xavier. I went and watched with some of my friends. You take good care of us. Thank you all so much for being here. Let's go ahead and get started. After one of the most thrilling NCAA tournaments of all time, the one thing that stayed consistent was UConn's domination. They won every single game in the tournament by at least 13 points before defeating San Diego State 76-59. Fellas, was this the most impressive title run of all time? And if not, which run was? TJ, we'll start with you.
I'm going to be honest, I didn't find it extremely impressive, definitely not the best of all time. They won 6 straight, they blew them all out obviously, but they had an easy schedule compared to all the other teams that made it pretty far in the tournament. I'm actually going to go with the 2014 UConn Huskies, different year, because that was a team that nobody really expected to come out on top. They had a pre-tournament odds of 75-1, which is the highest that a team has overcome pre-tournament odds since 1979. So pretty good. Also, they didn't have a lot of NBA talent on that team. Shabazz Napier was their top player that made the NBA, and we saw how his career panned out. And they're also the 3rd seed in the Big East, which is pretty impressive, 12-6 on the season. But what made it super impressive was the teams that they beat in the tournament. In the second round, they beat the number 2 Villanova squad that had who had Josh Hart. And the third round, they beat the 3rd seed Iowa State Cyclones, who had Monte Morris and Georges Niang. And the next round, they beat the 4th-seeded Michigan State Cyclones, who had Gary Harris and Denzel Valentine. People forget how good Denzel Valentine was in college.
He was incredible in college.
I don't know about his bowls stink, but it's all right.
Hey, watch it.
And then they also beat the number 1 seed Florida Gators in the Final Four. They had a really good defense. UConn overcame that. They also played an easy opponent, sort of, in the final. They played against the 8th seed Kentucky Wildcats, but they still had Julius Randle. the Harrison twins, and Willie Cauley-Stein. Those were great college basketball players, even though a lot of them didn't pan out in the NBA. They were still great. So that's why I'm going to go with the most impressive run.
We were talking in the show, before the show started, about the difference between great NBA players and great college players. So a lot of those guys that you just mentioned, great college players, didn't really translate as well to the NBA.
Some of them are still.
Some of them still are,
Still
but
got it.
nonetheless, there's a big difference, and it depends on the player and their skill set. Robert continues on.
The difference that a seating chart on this show makes. I was gonna go with UConn too. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just playing. UConn 2014. That's what I was gonna say as well. But I'll add some more to that. Like led by Shabazz Napier, who's playing in the Italian league right now. I had to look up where he was playing because once he got into the NBA, he wasn't doing much.
Me, I thought he was gone. Thought he retired.
But they beat 2-seed Villanova by 12 early on in about the round of 32, and then they beat Florida by 10 in the Final Four. But this seventh seed, and they're a 4 seed in the Big East tournament that they didn't even win. This was a league, or this year the league was stacked. Jabari Parker, Andrew Wiggins, Julius Randle, Doug McDermott, Isaiah Austin, all star players that you think would be dominating and at least making the Final Four. But no, I mean, UConn was just so, it was so far-fetched that they would even make it to the tournament that year. The only other worst team to go and win all the way was 1985 Villanova. I was just so surprised hearing UConn win this. But they also just dominated their opponents well. With UConn winning it this year, they were a 4 seed. They were expected to win a couple games, and I honestly didn't think that they did dominate a lot of their games, but not all of them were super dominant. I mean, some of them hung in there by 15 points, which I don't think is a terrible loss. But I got to go with UConn in 2014 as well.
All right, so we've got 2 votes for the Huskies back in 2014 in comparison to their 2023 run this year. So 9 years ago, the Huskies getting some recognition. Michael?
I'm going to have to leave the underdog train and hop on the favorite. I'm going to go with the 2021 Baylor Bears. I mean, there was not a time where I thought that team was going to lose, even during the regular season. They were the most impressive I saw by far. You had NBA talent, Jared Butler and Davion Mitchell, who were just, I thought, were unguardable when you watched them play. They beat every team. Similar run like UConn. They beat every team by double digit except for Arkansas. They beat them by 9 in the Final Four. And don't forget Mark Vidal, who is probably the strangest good player on the team I've ever seen. He's 6'5" center, who was a board guy. He was big. He was unmovable. I thought it was so strange how dominant he was in the paint. But it's just what it was. He's not even playing basketball anymore. I think he's playing football.
He went to football, didn't he?
He's a tight end. He's a tight end somewhere.
Out of
That's
nowhere.
the second time in Baylor's history that you had 2 people switch from them to football, which is him and Rico. I don't remember his last name. Rico Gathers. Yeah, they both flipped. They both flipped football, and then in the tournament they won. They started off 11-1 in the 11-1 run to start the championship game. I thought, yeah, it's over from there against Jalen Suggs and a younger Drew Timme. So I thought Baylor was the most impressive I've seen.
Yeah, certainly Scott Drew's coaching tree is impressive, but you look at his player tree as well. Talk about 2 players that are able to make the transition from basketball to football. That's just unbelievable. So Scott Drew doing a hell of a job in Waco. And great answers to start us off here. TJ, you'll get the 3. Michael, you get the 2. Robert, you get the 1 to start us off. Next up, the women's NCAA tournament was just as exciting, especially in the Final Four with the continued emergence of superstars like Angel Reese of LSU and Iowa's Caitlin Clark. Now that these young female hoopers are getting the respect and attention that they deserve, who do you think is the next star player to emerge in women's basketball?
Now, when you ask for star players and the best star player to kind of get the entire spotlight, this may sound like the safe answer, as you just mentioned her, but I think it's a very smart answer, and I'm going with the lady who put the ring on her finger, with Angel Reese. She's the one who took LSU as a sophomore all the way to the championship game, and they won. I felt like the whole time, though, Caitlin Clark, I mean, respectfully, she should have, she got a great amount of attention, but I felt like Caitlin Clark just was getting a little bit more of the spotlight than Angel Reese was. But Angel Reese is the one who won the championship. Now, Angel Reese was 4th overall in points, or 5th overall in points in the entire NCAA this year with 23, averaging that. She was also 2nd overall in rebounds with 15.4. She's only a sophomore this season, so she'll be a junior next year. She has a lot of time to grow and to develop as a player. I'm a big believer in, if you're going to be a great player and be highly regarded, your team also has to be good. Angel Reese is going to come back dominant and lead the top of the charts in scoring and rebounding, and also just take over the entire spotlight and not share it with anyone else.
She calls herself Miss Double Double, and now she can call herself Miss Champion as well to go alongside that nickname. Michael?
I'm going to have to go with a forgotten name. People kind of forget about her due to her injury. I'm going to go with Paige Buckners. I mean, she was the Caitlin Clark before Caitlin Clark. She was the big name in women's basketball. I think it was her sophomore year or freshman year. She was Wooden Player of the Year. She won Female Collegiate Athlete of the Year at the ESPYs. And she was the Gatorade Player of the Year coming out of high school. I mean, she was a big name. I don't know how she came forgotten. I guess it was due to her injury. I mean, she was a dominant player. She averaged 24, 4, and 6 before her injury, prior year, and I thought she was just a name that kind of fell off the charts. But I think when she comes back, she can kind of rise back up, get UConn back to their prestigious rank they used to be, and really, shoot for a championship.
Yeah, Paige Buckners, unfortunately, has been dealing with some injuries throughout her entire career. And UConn's head coach, Gino, I completely am blanking on his last name right now, Ariema, thank you, said earlier this week when the number came out that 9.9 million people watched the Women's National Championship game. Hey, if Paige Buckners and Caitlin Clark meet in that final, it's going to do twice as many. So, going to be great to see her come back, hopefully healthy, and lead UConn back to, hopefully, for them, the prestigious title place. TJ, close us out.
Yeah, I'm going to go with someone who's entering their 4th year. I'm going with Louisville superstar Haley Van Lith. Texas fans, they know firsthand that she could take over a game. She dominated against Texas, 21 points. And not only Texas, she dominated the entire tournament. She had more than 20 points in every single game. You look at her season stats, she had about 19 points per game, a career high, 5 assists, also a career high, also had a career high in steals. She struggled a little bit from the three-point range in the regular season, but she did pretty good in the tournament. Also, she had 27 points in the Elite Eight loss to Iowa. I think if someone who's going to step up and play good against Caitlin Clark, I think it could be Haley Van Lith. She has that origin story now because you could see Caitlin Clark. She was kind of like mocking her at the end of the game there. So I think Haley Van Lith, she can come back and she can dominate next season just because and come back and beat Caitlin Clark, I think.
Yeah, Haley Van Lith, Texas fans might have some PTSD remembering the fact that, I mean, there's no way to put it other than she completely cooked them. It was just easy. It was easy. I was there.
Put him in the kitchen.
Listening to some good things. And our director tonight, first of all, let's give it up for our director, Justin Gooseman. First time directing tonight. Did a fantastic job. Was watching Caitlin Clark just absolutely obliterate Texas's defense back in the Sweet 16. So, 3 great names across the board. Michael, you're going to get the 3 here. Robert, I'll give you the 2. TJ, you get the 1. Last question here of our first block. After a 16-game win streak, Texas baseball dropped back-to-back games to Oklahoma State and then recovered last night with a win against Air Force. Now, while 17 out of 19 games being won is good, there are still plenty of concerns for this team, including the bullpen. Contestants, is it time to panic for Texas baseball? Michael, close out.
I don't think it's time to panic. I mean, they were on a 16-game win streak with a win in Stillwater to continue it, and they dropped the last 2. That hurt. It was a good Oklahoma State team. It was a tough 3rd game. I mean, they started off 3-0 after a 3-1 homer, and then they were up. Going into the 9th inning, they were up 3-2, and they gave up obviously a walk-off. But before that, they had 3 people on base. 3 people on base, no outs, but in the top of the 9th and didn't convert there. That's a hurt. That's just mistakes you make and you can capitalize from. I mean, they came back. They bounced back nicely against Air Force. I think there's nothing really to worry about right now. This team is still hot. I think they're still a top team in the Big 12. I think they're going to continue their push.
No, absolutely. And like I said, 17 out of 19, a great line. But obviously this team in the past, especially in the bullpen, has had a lot of issues. So maybe some things that we can see because, they start hot 3-0. Defense just can't hold it down for them. We'll see what changes the rest of the season. TJ?
Yeah, I think the bullpen and defense played really good against Air Force. I think it's a little too early to panic about this team. You play about 60 or so games in Big 12. In the Big 12 schedule. You're talking about, we're not even halfway through so far right now. You have, they lost 2 games in a row to Oklahoma State. Their offense stalled up a little bit, but that's because they're playing 2 of the best rotation players in Oklahoma State's rotation. And you're also playing them on their home field. They're going to be pumped up to play Texas, especially because they're leaving the Big 12 as well. But yeah, I went to the Air Force game. And it just looked like batting practice sometimes out there. They hit 4 home runs. They had a lot of frozen ropes to outfield, gappers, and warning track, everything like that. Their offense definitely rebounded against Air Force. And I don't have any worries about the offense. Like, again, you said the worries on the bullpen and defense. I think they can get that fixed. Again, early in the season, they're not even halfway. They can fix that. And once they get into the playoffs, they can definitely change that if they play someone like Oklahoma State again.
Absolutely, and if we learned anything about Texas baseball the past couple of years, it just seems like no matter how much talent that they lose, they always get it back, and they're always somehow in Omaha one way or another. So far, they look like they're on track to do that. Robert, close us out.
I'm going to say no, there's not anything to worry about. First off, baseball is a game where no matter how good or bad you are, every team is going to win games and every team is going to lose games. I think winning 16 games in a row is more uncharacteristic in the sport than losing 2 in a row for sure. And definitely that Oklahoma State is definitely one of the better teams in the Big 12. Now, throughout that 3-game series, Texas only lost by an entire score of 11 runs to 9. So they were right there, only losing by 2 runs. Now, when they came back and they beat Air Force, they obviously won by a lot. You had players like Rylan Galvin and Dylan Campbell having multi-hit games, obviously getting back on fire, and now they have a 3-game stretch down the road at home, Oklahoma State. So that's 4 home games in a row that they're going to be having. I think if anything, losing 2 games in a row is not a surprise at all. I mean, Texas isn't the best team, but they are a top 25 team this year, but they're not like a top 5 team overall. But winning 16 games in a row is great. I think that they just lost momentum for a second, and they're building it back up through their hitting, which they obviously showed through Air Force.
Absolutely, and this Texas team is known for their high-powered offense. They've continued to show that so far this season. We'll see if they can keep it up. We're 3 questions into this one, and it's close, but it's a 3-way tie across the board. How about that, fellas? Everybody tied up at 6. Talk about a great opening round. We've still got a long ways to go. Next set of questions coming up on College Crossfire.
Completely, but like
Which one? Here, wait.
it's like Tommy's not center, and like also you can see like me and
Hello.
I think I zoomed in after the first shot.
I'm sorry, what
Oh,
are you asking?
okay. I was just saying that like that camera's like kind of.
Welcome back into College Crossfire. Quick score update if you're just joining us. It's pretty easy. Sixes all across the board. Everybody here is tied. Let's go ahead and kick off our second block now with this. With the ever so important NFL draft around the corner, big names like Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud take the headlines, but which under-the-radar player do you think will turn heads in the NFL? Michael, we'll start with you.
I'm going to go with a name many people are not going to know. I'm going to go with Dwayne McBride out of UAB. He was second in FBS in touchdowns and yards with 1,700 yards and 19 touchdowns. He's shadowed, of course, in this draft by Bijan Robinson and other great talents like that. He's a shifty, explosive guy. I think he can make any impact on the NFL team. Probably a second-round pick. Second-round, third, fourth-round pick. I think that's where he can fit in. He's strong. He's a senior. He's strong. He has good leadership abilities. I think he can make something shake.
Sounds like a Chicago Bear to me. TJ, we'll go over to you.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Texas Longhorn. I'm going to go with Moro Ojomo, the defensive lineman. I think right now he's about a second-round or early third-round pick right now. But he's really explosive in the trenches. We're talking about a guy who has a huge strength in run defense. He's fourth in the nation in run defense for defensive tackles. We're talking about a guy who has who can take anyone one-on-one. I like to say that I like to think of him as like DeMarcus Lawrence, someone who's not really on top of your scouting list, but someone that can definitely, if you leave on check, he can definitely leave some nightmares for your QB or your running back for more. And I'm also, yeah, I think it's just I think anyone who gets him in the early second or late second round, early third round, I think they're going to get someone who's ready to play immediately.
Texas has looked in years. Moro Ojomo, a big part of that. Robert, close out.
I'm going to go with a player who I've previously mentioned on the show before. That is Old Dominion's tight end, Zach Kuntz. Shout out Adam Ogring. He picked him one time, too. Now, for those who don't know, Zach Kuntz ran the second fastest time in the 40-yard dash at the Combine. Second fastest time for a tight end. The only tight end faster than him was faster than him by 0.01 seconds. The time was 4.55. He had a relative athletic score at the Combine of 10, which is a perfect score that you can get off that scale. Now, he came off of an injury in 2022, but in 2021 in the Sun Belt Conference, he had 692 yards off of 70 receptions. That's huge. Now, NFL offenses are kind of emerging and evolving into a sort of play style where they like to hit their receivers kind of in the middle near the linebackers, where the linebackers are, because tight ends are getting much bigger and much stronger, and they're also needing to rely on tight ends as the running back game is kind of getting a lot stronger. You know, people say running backs only last for about 2 or 3 seasons now on average. I think that's changing, and they need tight ends who can block. I think it's Zach Kuntz because he can do it all based off his physical size and athletic ability.
I think you and Adam were on for about 20 minutes the last time you two were on here about Zach Kuntz. So certainly a great choice. And for that, you get the 3 here. Michael, you'll get the 2. TJ, you get the 1. Last question here of this block. The NBA playoffs just a few days away, and the Western Conference is in a place that can only be described as the Wild West, as teams go neck and neck to secure the final spots in the playoffs and the play-in. With only a couple games left, who do you think secures the 7 through 10 seeds in the West? Michael, we'll start again with you.
I think, start off, I'll go with the Lakers at 7. I mean, right now they're sitting at the 7 right now. They have 2 tough games coming up right now. They're actually playing the Clippers as we speak right now. If they win this game, if they go to the 5, they lose the game, they stay at the 7, and they also play the Suns. Those are two top Western Conference teams. I think they'll drop those 2 and end off with a win against the Jazz and probably stay around the 7 seed, which isn't bad for them. And then move on to the Pelicans, who I think will win, split their next 2 games against the Grizzlies and the Jazz, which will kind of sit them at the 8 seed, I believe. And then we'll move on to the Timberwolves. I think they play the Knicks. I think they play the Knicks, and Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle will be out. They'll be sitting because the Knicks have already secured a 5 spot in the Eastern Conference. And then we're going to end off with the Mavs, who right now I think they're on the way to beat Sacramento. It's a close game. That's a big win for them, and I think they can beat the Bulls to end off the season. Kyrie, Luka. I really don't know what to say with that situation right now.
They're not really in a good spot.
It's a tough situation. There's talent right there. That's a great team who has just struggled towards the end of the season after the trade deadline with the addition to Kyrie. But I think if they can squeeze into that 9 or 10 seed, they will make it to either the 7 or the 8, or the 8 actually if they're 9 or 10, so the 8.
All right, so that's a good solid 4 teams that we got there. TJ, let's move on over to you.
I'm gonna go with the Warriors as the 7th seed. I think they play the Timberwolves or not the Timberwolves. They play the Trailblazers and they also play the Kings for their remaining 2 games. Easily a 1-on-1 schedule if they play the cards right. And then also you got the Clippers and Lakers. They're playing each other right now, but I think they can win out the rest of their schedule. And both of them have the tiebreaker over the Warriors, so that's why I'm putting them at the 7. I'm putting the Pelicans at the 8. I think they play the Knicks and the Timberwolves to end off the season. The Pelicans, they've been playing a little bit better than the Timberwolves recently in their last 10 games. They beat the Clippers twice, the Nuggets once. The Timberwolves, they've been losing to teams like the Trailblazers and the Raptors. So I think the Pelicans take that, and they also have the tiebreaker over the Timberwolves if they do beat Minnesota in that last game. And then for the 10th one, honestly, I don't think anyone deserves the 10th seed, but I'm going to have to go with the Mavericks. I mean, it's early in the play-in's history, but the 10th seed's never done anything also. But I'm going to go with the team with more experience, especially when the season's on the line. I know my Mavericks have not they haven't gotten their stuff together, but it is at the end of the season. They have the experience to get the team together, and I think they're going to get the number 10 spot.
I agree. I think we need to abolish the play-in. I don't see the point in it. I don't know if that's where you were going with that answer. That's just my opinion.
Take the 10th off, at least.
There you go. Robert?
Quite frankly, I agree. I think that the original style we had of the playoffs a couple years ago was much more exciting. But anyways, I'm going to go with the Lakers for the 7 seed because they have 41 wins right now. They're about a game ahead of everyone else within the bubble right there. And pending 42 wins, pending their game against the Clippers tonight. 7 and 8. I'm going to go with the Pelicans and the Timberwolves. Those 2 spots are so interchangeable right now because they both have 40 wins, so they're right there. But then the Thunder, they're not going to make it. So the 10 seed is going to the Mavericks. I know that Luka and Kyrie aren't doing great together right now, given how the Mavericks have been after the trade deadline. However, Luka knows how to get it done when crunch time arrives. Luka's going to get it done. He's going to find a way. Playoffs time is coming. He's going to get it together with his team, and they're going to take off the Thunder, who only have 38 wins right now, whereas the Pelicans and the Timberwolves have 40. They're practically two games behind them. Not exactly 2 games, but pretty much there. That 10 spots up for grabs, and Luka's going to get it done.
Alrighty, once again, great responses across the board. We head to the end of our second block, and at the top of the board is Robert with 12 points. Behind him, once again, a tie between TJ and Michael with 9. Not too much farther to go. Up next, it's everyone's favorite round, the rapid fire round. Up next on College Crossfire. It's time for the last 3 questions of the night for us here on College Crossfire, and you know what that means. It's the rapid fire round, where the points are double, so it's anyone's game. If you're new to the show, rapid fire is our 3rd and final segment where our contestants will have to answer 3 questions, just like they have the last 2 rounds, but this time they have no idea what I'll be asking. Everything is off the dome. They say defense wins championships, but that's not true. Rapid fire wins championships. Let's find out who tonight's champion will be. here we go. In the NCAA women's tournament, there was plenty of trash talk from Caitlin Clark and Amy Reese, causing a debate that didn't really need to be a debate about trash talk. On this show, we encourage trash talk. So with that said, if you're on the floor just straight up dominating your opponent, what would your trash talk be like? Anybody can start us off, and Robert looks like he's itching to yell something.
Acknowledging the question.
Okay, all right, we'll take that.
I start.
I figured you would be.
I think it's one of the biggest parts of the game is to get in your opponent's head, and that's by trash talking.
I agree.
I played intramural basketball, so I think I got 2 texts over the season because they told me I got to tone it down.
Wow.
But every time you're winning, it's so easy to say something to somebody because it gets in their head, it gets them mad, and you're winning the mental game. That's a big part of the game. Personally, I think one of my favorite lines was when I remember I got a steal, and I'd be like, oh, look what I found, and then I go right past it. It's so I love it's just trash talk is a big part of the game. I love it, and I think it's so fun.
Subtle trash talk, but hey, if it gets in your opponent's head, it works.
I'll go next. All right. We'll go with the simple one. Just simply point to the scoreboard. I mean, if you're down, don't talk. It's as simple as that. I think if I could point at the scoreboard and show that I'm dominating, come on. What's the point of talking?
So no trash talk, just trash pointing from TJ to prove his domination, letting his game talk. Okay, I can respect that.
This may not sound like the unpopular answer, but I'm a big believer in, let your game speak for yourself. That's not what my answer is for the trash talking part. My answer
Let the trash talk fly. Yeah, move these two.
That wasn't my answer.
Let it fly.
That wasn't my answer. So, I like the way that Russell Westbrook really likes to trash talk. He seems to be the guy who always shuts up his opponents when they trash talk him first. Basically, his trash talking is he scores and he dunks and he screams. He doesn't just yell. He literally just screams out of nowhere into the court, like asserting some just aggressiveness, like in front of all the fans and players around him. And then when he runs back onto the other side, he's always eyeing down his opponents and just yelling and just saying something so subtly to the person who's trash talking him. I think just letting out some giant celebration that was uncalled for after you do something, especially in basketball, and then kind of saying something to them subtly, kind of getting into their head, little by little, chipping away at them, just kind of talking to them and throwing jabs at them as you go down to the court.
Don't forget. Rock the Baby.
Rock the Baby.
As well from the great Russell Westbrook. So one great trash-talking answer. You used an example, and he doesn't even talk trash. So that's a hell of a way to get us started here on Rapid Fire. Let's move on to our second question. This Final Four was extremely special for Jim Nantz, CBS's #1 broadcaster for decades. He's able to call his final tournament games in his hometown of Houston, Texas. As Nantz heads to his final Masters and soon retirement, who is your favorite sports broadcaster? Keep in mind, I count as a sports broadcaster. You can choose me.
I got to go with the greatest of all time, Mr. Bang, Mike Breen. There's really no other choice I can really put there. Whenever you think of basketball, NBA basketball, you hear that voice. You hear the bang, bang. It's good. I mean, he's just
the rare double bang.
The rare double bang. Curry got it done. I know Goose gonna like that one, but I think I love Mike Breen. I love his play, his commentating style. I love his energy. I love his voice, which is actually a big part of my broadcasting is the voice you hear. So I got to go with Mike Breen.
Yeah, it's going to be a sad day when Mike Breen is no longer calling the NBA Finals, so that you can hear those iconic bang moments. Nothing better than Ray Allen in the corner for 3, bang, to close out that series against the Spurs in Miami. Great answer to start us off. Next.
I'm going to go with the one and only Fox Sports, Gus Johnson. This guy's emotion is so electric. It's insane. The way that running backs just I like to just hear his whoa as running backs just run down the sideline and break free for the last 30 yards on the gridiron. This guy really just knows how to just describe every single detail with super electrifying energy. Just whether he's just someone's just taking a hand off. This guy knows how to bring the energy onto the field. This guy is why I'm interested in calling play by play. this guy just brings, like, my favorite broadcast of him was when Texas lost to Cal in 2015 when Nick Rose missed the extra point and Gerard Hurd just went off that game. It's got to be Gus Johnson because of how electrifying he is.
And some incredible voice crack moments from Gus Johnson as well. Please, John Robinson, to the house.
What makes him great?
99 big ones. Great answer. TJ?
I'm going to go with someone that not many people are going to pick. I'm going with Jeff Van Gundy. For some reason, every single time
What?
I listen to him, I laugh.
Jeff Van Gundy.
Let me explain. Jeff Van Gundy.
No.
I already know I'm going to lose, so I'm going to go with my actual answer, Jeff Van Gundy. I think he never fails to make me laugh. He always complains about stuff that like actually makes sense. You know, I bet you, and when he broadcasts the play-in game, he's going to complain about the play-in tournament, and I love the guy.
Emily's favorite broadcaster.
Wait, what?
That makes sense because she's a massive hater. Jeff Van Gundy, yeah, alongside the great Mike Breen and Mark Jackson as well. That's a great crew for ESPN. Wow, I was not expecting that one. I personally would not have picked Jeff Van Gundy. But hey, we welcome all kinds of answers on the show, and we've definitely heard worse. Last question here for us on tonight's show. As we mentioned earlier, the NCAA tournament was nothing short of amazing from top to bottom. If you could construct your own national championship game between two teams in this tournament based on how you saw them perform, who would you have battling it out for a title? Just create the best possible game you could think. Wildest finish, closest game.
Are we describing the entire game or just the matchup?
Just the two teams. Anybody can start us off.
So I just picked two teams from the
Two
tournament.
teams that you want to see play that maybe didn't play.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Texas and Alabama. I thought that was going to be – I really wanted that to be the finals. I thought that was going to be a really good game. You're talking about Alabama and Texas both having really good offense, both having really good defense. They both dominate – well, they didn't – Texas didn't dominate the regular season, but Alabama for surely did. And also Texas just, you know, they're the best team in the Big 12 come tournament time. It was obvious. Having the best team from the best conference, and Alabama, who is obviously the best team in the nation, just had a bad game against San Diego State. I think that would have been an electrifying finish to a really good tournament.
Yeah, I picked Alabama and Texas in my final in all of my brackets this year, so definitely a game that would have been worth the price of admission.
I got to go with the Battle of Texas versus the Houston Cougars. I feel like this championship game, okay, not within the game itself, but within the fans and the crowd, it would sell out. It would be in Houston, where Houston is playing against the beloved Austin team. The crowd would sell out. The crowd would already be electric. We all saw how good our own Texas team was during the playoffs, or not the playoffs, excuse me, the tournament. They're great during the Big 12 tournament. They really proved themselves, winning about 6 straight games down that stretch, right? If you include both tournaments, we knew that Texas was really good. And people doubted Houston all season long. I personally thought they were really good, but people doubted them. This would be a perfect matchup to test not only how far Texas could go and if they could go all the way, but to also test how well Houston actually is. Now, I feel like the crowd, the electrifying crowd would be there, and, you know, it'd be on such a level playing field. I feel like these two teams would just make it sell.
Absolutely, you know, being in such a close vicinity to two teams that it would have been a Final Four matchup, but if it was a national championship, that would be an absolutely electric atmosphere. Good news for Big 12 fans, you get that game in football, not basketball this year. Michael?
I hear a lot of bias right now with this, and I love it because I'm going to continue the train. I got to put Texas in there, and I also want to put UConn in there, the chain that actually won it all, because I thought with 10 minutes to go in the Miami game, that was going to be our Final Four matchup. And I thought, because I was watching UConn and they were beating every team, I just don't think they could do Texas like that. Texas didn't have a lot of games this year, if any, where they lost by more than 10 points. I thought they were going to challenge that team well. I thought it was going to be electric. If Dylan DeSue didn't get hurt, that team was hot. He was hot. That really hurt. And then UConn, I mean, they went and dominated. They didn't lose a game they didn't win a game by less than 10 points. So I thought that would have been a pretty good matchup.
Absolutely, and you certainly, as a student of this university, would obviously love to see how your team fared out against the eventual national champion. So that's a great scenario. Really, all three incredible scenarios that I think I would pay a lot of money to go and watch. But unfortunately, once again, great way to close out the show, fellas. But as you all know, there can only be one winner. Today's College Crossfire champion is, drum roll please, or lack thereof.
I have one mic in my hand.
Everyone's favorite Pluckers server, Michael Alvarez.
Yay.
Michael wins it for Pluckers and America. Do we have time for FaceTime, Ronan? Yes, we do. Michael, take it away.
Well, it was fun. I love my opponents here. A lot of great answers from the board. I like to go out there and thank everyone here. Definitely thank Goose in the back for handling it for the first time. And I like Adam coming out to kind of do our little ghetto way of getting, our script going. And I also want to thank my family because, can't be without those guys. So, just a great time.
And Pluckers.
And Pluckers, go Pluck. They haven't been scheduling me a lot recently.
Oh no!
I'm losing money with Pluckers.
Pluckers,
it is what it
guys,
is.
You're losing your best server out here. Michael deserves better. Don't worry, Michael. We'll always treat you right over here on this side. Congratulations and a huge thank you to Robert and TJ for coming out as always. Hey, teleprompter boy, wake up, buddy. And a huge thank you as well to Adam Ogburn for handling the teleprompter tonight because we unfortunately, thanks to funding, can't get a functioning teleprompter here in the studio. But before you go, be sure to remember to come back Friday mornings for Adam Ogburn's Want to Know Sports Show and Monday nights for College Press Box. I want to thank you to our live studio audience for coming out and being great as usual tonight. More like a single member of our studio audience, but hey, we love everybody out here. For our contestants, everyone in Master Control, once more, shout out to Justin Gooseman, his first time directing tonight. He absolutely killed it. So proud of you, Goose. Phenomenal job from top to bottom. And our executive producer, Jordan Galehood, who's partying it away in San Antonio as we speak, and all the other great folks at TSTV. My name's Tommy Yarrish saying good night. We'll see you next time.